Part 2, Adulting, Numbers Edition. Edition. There we go. Okay. Stay up, board. Stay up. You're not doing it. You're not helping me there. Okay. Here we go. Which I do have these worksheets if anybody wants to have a breakdown. They're in my handwriting, so Anthony's going to have to type them up or have ChatGPT do it, one or the other. So this is one of those things where we could take our numbers, and it's basically just a chart. So one is housing, right? And this is going to be, you know, how much? So let's say your housing is $1,000 a month. Oh, maybe you got a 1-bedroom somewhere. You know, why not? And what does that do? That's due monthly, right? Next would be, you know, your budget. You want to have laid out what the budget is. So this is going to come into, we'll say, savings. And I like to also include, you know, like spending, where like there's other items that are out there. So this can be, if you're somebody who likes to shop, what does that look like? You know, like for me, I wear the same outfits. I'm just not wired to spend like that, but except for food. Like food, growing up without a lot of money and food, I will have food and never feel guilty about buying food. But so what does that look like? You know, what is the budget of that? So is that, you know, how much is it a month? You know, is it $800 a month? And this is, you know, for groceries. And then you have 200 going out to eat. You know, what does that look like? You know, 100 to extras. You know, this is where you're buying shoes or, you know, whatever. You come up with whatever it looks like. You know, and then how often is this? So groceries, I like to do a weekly shop. I go to the butcher, I go to Echo Hill. I try not to go to the main grocery store too much, just because they have too much temptation. But nonetheless, you know, is it weekly, going out to eat? How many times a week or a month do you go? What does that look like? If you look at your current spending and you actually like print it out, you know, how much are you already spending? What are you already doing? All right, utilities. You know, and this is one that I didn't even put on the last one, but utilities. How much are they really? You know, how much are you spending on electric? You know, water, sewer, phones, TV. You know, you add up all of those different subscriptions, how much are you spending a month, a year, you know, on TV? I know for me, it's like, I don't watch a lot of Netflix. I think I should cut it, you know, like utilities. How much is it, you know, or you're spending, if you take an average, you know, is it $250 a month on electric? You know, water's usually quarterly. So, you know, if that's $150 a quarter, what is that? Sewer, you know, if you have a septic, then you're good till the day it's not, and then you got to pay for it. Phones, you know, shop around. How much are you spending? You know, is it $180? You know, whatever it is. You know, TV, if you actually add it up, what is it? So this is, you know, how often? This is, you know, monthly. So then we get into, you know, vacations. I live to go away with my family. Like that's like my big thing. I love vacations. I love being with my family and all of it, but vacations are a great thing. You know, how much is that? You know, like I would love to go start to do more trips. You know, if we want to do a big trip this year, let's just say it's going to be $7,000, you know, so this is going to be yearly. So what does that look like? How am I going to fund that? So my point is, you start to go through all of it, you know, your savings. You know, how much you could say, you know, this year I want to have this much, or this month I'm going to put this much, you know, whatever that is. The whole point is to get, you know, what your retirement, you know, and how much is that? Are you going to do index funds? Are you going to do bonds? You know, what kind of investments are you going to do? Or is it going to be, you know, multi-units, which everybody should say yes to that. What's it going to be? You know, so It's just getting some amount of clarity so that you can see how much money you actually need. And it's usually less than what people think. People think they need this crazy amount of money, where typically if you add it all up, you know how much you need yearly, and then you can tally how much you need monthly. And you can go off of what you're currently doing versus, a high quality of life, what you want to be doing. And that's where like you can add to your life in so many different ways. You can have your safe number. This is the minimum I have to make, or your financial thermostat of that amount, versus, what your goals are. People throw out these crazy numbers of what they need. Oh, I need $7 million to retire. When in actuality, they might need, this would be what, 12,000. Let's just say this will be another 12,000. Yearly. What it breaks down to, so that's what going to be 600, and let's just say another 12,000. So we're at 24, 36, and we have our 7. And then if we're going towards savings, let's just say, you're going to do the max, another 7,000 that you can put in for retirement. So we're at what, 50 here? Is a basic, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't have car payment on here. Car. Can you pay off your car? How fast can you pay off your car? Driving an older car isn't a bad thing. I've never bought a new car. So yeah. Adulting, part 2. Any questions with it?